grade is 5 seconds. So just keep that in mind when you're racing. And one of the other big aspects is that not all the penalties are directly a result of contact, in the sense of if if you can do something to avoid the contact that would lose you a lot of time, that's what we sometimes reflect with the penalties. It's like a relatively small bump that doesn't massively inconvenience another driver, also reflects that you didn't take correct evasive action, and that's where the penalty would come from in certain situations. If a replay is available, we might actually be reviewing it, so we're hoping the replays work today. They don't always do that, but the steering team can look back at the race, and the idea is to get consistency over different events, and this is why we'd always say please report if something does happen, because we want people to be aware that maybe did something incorrectly, and in future they don't do it again. So this is just a constant building process of getting more consistent with it lobbies. Um, and the other thing is we use the tickets, so please don't have a spat in the public chats. That's not how we do things here. The staff deals with all the issues directly and then directly goes to other users if there's a problem with their driving. So that's the idea. We kind of keep things calm, relaxed, everyone stays friends, and the staff do the diplomatic thing on the other side. For hosts, I referred to it already for race direction, but it's Chef, myself, and the man for today. Chef's having a few issues connecting at the moment, but we're hoping he'll be able to host later on. In the event that doesn't happen, the man's your point. So for qualification, we're beginning right in 25 minutes. And if you're late to the lobby without prior communication, we're going to go ahead and start. We want to get this thing running on time, ideally to be finished at around 4 GMT, all going well. So we'll have a prototype lobby, so that's GCPs and P2, and a GT lobby because there's 19 of you guys. I'm having to host the GT lobby even though I'm racing in a prototype. That's just the nature of how the hosting splits has gone today. And qualification is 4 laps, and so you have your out lap from the starting grid and then 3 flying laps. It's worth saying that contact is off, fuel is off, tire sim is off, so make sure you're on softs and you have as low a fuel tank as you can have. And at the end of quali, we're just going to take the quali results and do the splits. So once we do that, feel free to leave the chat for about 10 minutes. Go have a break, stretch your legs, because we're going to be wanting to get going as soon as we can once we're back. So you might see in the server now, we got the quali group A, quali group B. So quali group A is for your prototypes, quali group B is for the GT cars. And once you guys go in there, we'll coordinate. And if you need to deafen or anything once qualifying is running, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure to be back for communications afterwards. And then once we post the qualification results, you'll have the new lobby host you're supposed to join, and then you join the host lobby. So essentially how we do it here is that we let drivers themselves get into position because we can't sort grid manually here. So essentially just drive a bit slower until the position counter drops to where you want it to be, or accelerate until the position counter goes up to the position you want it to have. The nice thing about multi-class is that there's only going to be less than 10 drivers to go through, so you will know. And there is a roll-off delay per class, and this is just to make sure the classes are split coming to the line. So because we let drivers get into position, you don't need to stay in the VC once we're getting started. So the host, before we start the race, will tell you guys you can drop out. We just want you all to be readied up before you do that, so that we don't have to be pinging you 7 times in the chat. And then from then on, we follow the ARC starting procedure. I'm not going to show the whole video here because it's been there for the last few days. But the things to keep in mind would be specifically the speed here on the straights.
Sudden braking and accelerating is not. It is important.
So the idea is you can warm your tires up, but don't be accelerating and braking very harshly constantly, because that can cause people to crash into you.
and the green zone.
So the key part with the stacking zone here is that while the leader has reduced the 60-mile-an-hour speed limit, everyone around them doesn't need to follow that, and that's the idea. So when you're in the stacking zone, you prioritize your positioning and keeping in formation rather than the speed. Only the pole sitter has to keep the speed. And that, because obviously you're going to be going around the corner, there's differences in the corner arc and distances, so maybe the outside will need to be higher speed to accommodate for that. The green zone, rather specifically, is often called an acceleration zone in other series, like IndyCar, where the drivers are given an area where they can go. And that's the idea of that is that the pole sitter has the advantage and they can decide when to start the race. When you're starting, you're looking dead ahead of the car directly in front of you, and that's the car you're responding to. If you're in P2, then you have to look left and see what the pole sitter is doing. I got a quick video for the RD points for today. Hopefully that's a bit less quiet. So this is normal formation lap conditions, so you're around 120, 130 kph. And then that's our American flag up there. And this is where the drivers behind form up. I even can't keep speed, I'm useless. So what you're looking at here for the starting of the zone is this is where at the clash a few years ago they had a chicane. And that's where the start of the green zone is, but the pole sitter can hold you up to the finish line in this case. So it's relatively short, that's to make sure your tire temperatures don't totally crater while you're going through here, but maybe that's the pole sitter wants you guys to do. Is there any? I think most of that is covered, and this is the brief I made with that. I kind of hacked it together last year, and the blown up images. These are all posted on the server. FM events are liable to have a lot of lag, so again, this kind of ties into how we race here. If you do see something happening up ahead, please lift. It can save a lot of us having an accident. Especially with the lower volume of cars per class. If you have people spinning out in the first few laps in a totally avoidable way like that, it'll kind of ruin the race for you anyway. So the idea, you have the throttle control, so the idea is to lift and try to take evasive action if you can. Please record any instance you have. If you're currently Twitch streaming on Xbox, you can just use the VOD in the links there. Otherwise, all the Elite controllers have a shift button that will change the function of other buttons on the controller. So while the standard Xbox controller has a share button, the Elite controller doesn't. This comment here kind of explains it. So you can set one of the buttons to shift, and then when you press another button, it'll actually take the screenshot, or in our case, record the capture. For PC users, there's AMD Adrenaline and Shadowplay. So IRC uses full F4R, and that means you're going to get stupid contact penalties that we don't agree with. So if you ever get those, appeal them. We immediately remove those. That's no problem. And as well as that, any penalties you might receive from being shoveled off track with some hard racing or the requirement to take evasive action. So let's say there's a big crash, you need to cut part of the bus stop, and it gives you 5 seconds. We're not going to penalize you for that. That's going to be taken away right away. But the game has visible track limits. You have the assist to turn on, so the limit is 2 wheels within the track limit. So we don't action any penalties. The game actually applies to you for track limits and track extending. Right, so any questions you guys have? Now's the chance to ask them, because lobbies are about to go up. No livery rules. If you want to make a cool livery, you can. If you have a number, definitely use it. But we're not going to be strict on it, because it's crazy to be giving livery rules, especially for a once-off event. Yeah, no cutting the bus stop, that should be obvious. Yes, Neman's very good with that. He's a lot more mature than me. Within Forza terms of service, there's no livery rules. But jokes aside, if you are intentionally cutting the track like that, the bus stop, to just catch up with people ahead. There will be a further penalty to do with that. Oh, bomb, it's fine. You don't need to worry about what numbers other people have. Just use what you like. For the main championship, we'd be strict on that, especially because rubies can't enter main championships. But in this case, doesn't matter. Priority is everyone has a bit of fun today. If there's any issues like the collision bug or things like that, the hosts will be watching Discord on the Formation app. So if there's a major issue, please tell us then. Once we take the start, it's over. If you see people leaving, especially the hosts leaving, just check the Discord and see if we need to re-rack and restart. So keep an eye on that coming up to the bus stop. Past that point, it's kind of game over. Yeah, once we take the green, it's over. But like during the formation lap, we can restart. So that's why we're saying if you guys need to. Yeah, I suppose that's a good point. You probably should nudge into someone a bit off the grid just to make sure collisions work. Just don't heavily kill them. As well as that, like I know the sound bug's a thing as well. So again, just tell the host, and we can always just restart the race. But obviously, once it's started, the race is green. Disconnects or disconnects past that point. Just don't fucking murder people.
5 minutes remaining.
Right, at that, I'm going to boot up the Xbox and get going. So is there any other questions from people, or you okay? I always take that as a no. Yeah, thanks for everyone, and we'll have your lobby up shortly, okay? You'll be pinged per class, so GP and LB2 will be pinged by the lobby host once the lobby's up. Similarly, GTs, I'll be giving the ping. So keep an eye on the race direction chat, and I'll see you on the other side.